So you'll see I have notes. It's not because I'm afraid of forgetting. I'm afraid of saying too much. They're to keep me on track. So my name is Craig Addy, and I've spoken before. And last time I spoke about my passion for music and art and creating beauty in the world. But this time I'm going to talk about a personal journey I had in health transformation. And it really started back in January of 2016 with a phone call from my parents, and it wasn't good news. My brother, at the age of 58, had just died of a massive heart attack. It was a wake-up call. I myself at that time was 65 pounds overweight. I thought I was okay. I mean, I hadn't smoked like my brother had smoked. But you know, it got me thinking. And then fast forward to May, I wake up one morning on a Friday and I've got chest pains. And I freak out thinking about my brother. Thinking about I've never been this heavy in my life. I try to convince myself that there's nothing wrong. Finally, I tell a friend what's going on. She says, get yourself to the emergency. So I got myself to the emergency, St. Paul's. And they did this whole pile of tests, and I wasn't having a heart attack. It was indigestion. They gave me something for that. But I had to go back 2 days later to get a CAT scan. They're going to, do a picture of my heart and the coronary arteries. They inject you with this blue dye. And the news wasn't great. No, I wasn't having a heart attack, but I was on my way to one, and I had to do something. There was a 20% blockage in one of my coronary arteries, which is not, they don't do anything about that. They don't do anything about that until it's like 80%. So I wasn't like about to have a heart attack, but it was like serious business. So 2 weeks later, I'm in the, apparently I'm not using these. 2 weeks later, I'm referred to a cardiologist. I'm in his office, and he's saying, okay, well, you got to get your cholesterol down, so I'm going to recommend that you take a statin. It's a cholesterol-lowering drug. And I didn't want to do that. I had read about some of the side effects. I'm a professional pianist. It can result in cramping of your hands, foggy thinking. And I knew something that a lot of doctors didn't know, that you can actually reverse heart disease with a healthy diet. And so I said, I want to try this first. And he said, well, this isn't a marathon. This isn't a sprint. It's a marathon. You have time to explore. So I said I wanted to do that. So synchronicity, I'm walking home, not from the actual appointment, but just like in those days from this place next to St. Paul's. It's called Mole Hill. Does anyone know Mole Hill? Well, in there, they've got these little public libraries. They're like they got this little sheltered alcove, and people put books that they've finished reading in there. And I look in, and there's this book called The China Study. And I'd heard about that book, and it's about this very issue, about using nutrition to heal yourself. So I grabbed the book, and I read it, and it transformed my life. I suddenly knew it was not only a slight possibility, it was an absolute possibility. So it recommends, you do a whole food plant-based diet, and I just dove in, and I researched and read tons of books. I can't count how many books I've read now, but I found sources that I learned that I could trust. And in 6 months, I'd lost 45 pounds. And I was eating huge amounts of food. I was enjoying cooking. I was having a great time. I felt better than I'd felt in a decade. I looked better than I'd looked in a decade. And so it was time to go back and get the blood work done. So I went in, I was expecting to walk into the doctor, look what I did. And the news wasn't so great. My cholesterol hadn't budged. In fact, it had gone up a little bit. I was devastated. Am I wrong? Is this all wrong? Well, luckily, I kind of listened to my body. I had never felt so great. Aches and pains I'd had for years had gone away. Massive indigestion was gone. I mean, no, something's right here. Trust that. And then I went to a community. There's a community of people that eat the way I'm eating, and I shared what had happened. And my husband, it took a year before his cholesterol went down. So the doctor had given me the prescription. He was really adamant now. I didn't fill it. I says, I'm going to give this more time. And I reevaluated my diet, and I saw that, there's some things I'm still eating too much of, like these really creamy nut sauces and stuff, and I know that you're supposed to cut the fat way down when you have this situation. So I brought that down, and I went in for another 6 months. But then I got frustrated because I still had another 10 pounds to lose before I was really in that safe zone, and it wasn't happening. I was stuck. And I was noticing that I was kind of binging on these, they were healthy foods, but I was still having these cravings and binging while I watched Netflix every night. You know the Netflix food thing? You know, it was like, you know, Ezekiel bread, which is super healthy with organic peanut butter and dried fruit. And then an email, more synchronicity, an email landed in my mailbox, and it was this thing called Bright Line Eating. And she had these videos, and I watched them, and I saw myself in these videos. She started talking about food addiction. So I decided to jump into this boot camp that they do. It's an 8-week thing, and try it out. And I got integrity in that. It gave me the power to say what I'm going to eat each day, and then actually do that. And I went 89 days straight without breaking my word. I mean, I had not had that power since I was a teenager. You know, I was a chocolate bar junkie from the first time I had a paper route. And I didn't lose 10 pounds, I lost 20 pounds. I was now 150 pounds, lighter than I'd ever been in my adult life. I thought I had it handled. I'm going along great. I'm in this maintenance plan, and it all ended with a piece of fudge. I was at my aunt's memorial down in Seattle, and my mom brought her fantastic fudge. And it was my birthday in a week, and I said, I can have one piece of fudge. I had 12. So we're laughing now, but I was actually devastated, because it's like I'd lost everything. And in the next month, it just set off a whole chain reaction. I was buying cookies and pastries at the coffee shops for a month, gained 7 pounds. I read this book called The Pleasure Trap, and I really got that I hadn't been owning that I have a sugar addiction, but it is real. I had a sugar addiction. For me, one piece of fudge, this moderation thing, it doesn't work. But I also learned that a sugar addiction isn't as bad as a cocaine addiction. If you can hold on long enough, you'll be free of it. And he said, usually in 4 days, you can tell that you're going to make it. So I said, okay, I'm going to do it 4 days. And at the end of 4 days, I knew I had it. And now I'm losing the weight. And so that's been my journey so far. And now I'm in the fitness realm. That's another whole story. And I've discovered the whole world of sleep. Oh my God. I read the book, Why We Sleep. Oh, that's another whole story. So what I've learned from this is that there's no end to this journey. You know, each time as I went along, I thought, this is it, this is it, this is it. Well, there's never end. But I did learn, you know, science really is powerful. It seems confusing, but I learned to research the research, who's behind that research, who's funding that research. There's vested interests that are manipulating it. So when you really get down below that, it is really clear, the pathway to health. So that's my story. Thank you so much.